Hey, how's everybody doing today? It's Craig with Shipley Transport. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about something I get a lot of questions on, and that is the differences between having your own company, leasing on, and being a company driver. So we'll really break right down into it. I get a lot of questions every day about how do you get into HotShot, what all is involved here and there. So what I'm going to talk about today, just so I don't bore you guys forever, is the differences of responsibility, first and foremost, and potential income. Every company does it differently, so I won't say anything's 100%, but just the overall differences. So if we start out with what's considered a company driver, you drive the company's truck, pull the company's trailer, company typically pays for fuel, they pay for your insurance. The only thing you're responsible for is things like obviously your food, your clothing. Some companies do want you to buy company shirts or uniforms, stuff like that. Hotel stays, any of your own personal choice on out-of-pocket expenses. I've seen pay ranges anywhere from a rate per mile, like you see a lot of big rigs advertising 50 cents per mile or something. I've also seen it be percentage based, anywhere from 15 to 25 to 30%. I will let you know, I have never hired anybody as a company driver, and I have never been a company driver for somebody else. So that aspect of it, I'm not as familiar with. I've heard really great stories where people take care of their employees really, really well. But I've also heard the horror stories of, yeah, you forced me to go into New York City on a regular basis, or whatever the case may be. If you like going to New York, nothing against you. But I've heard horror stories as well. I've heard of people working on a percentage based, but then they just sit there. Or if you're working on a dollar amount per mile, just sitting there for 2, 3, 4 days. So I've heard of both. As far as I'm aware, there are more availability as far as getting into the industry if you don't have a lot of, one, if you don't have good credit to finance stuff, or two, if you just don't have the money to pay for stuff outright, you can't get a truck or a trailer, or you can't find one, then it's a good way to get into the industry. Make sure you like it. You're not financially invested. The one thing I will ask is, if you do decide to go down that route, do not be one of the horror stories of this guy ratted out my truck. He didn't tell me when the maintenance was due, or girl didn't tell me when the maintenance was due. I didn't have a load ready the very next day, so they parked it out in frickin' Cheyenne, Wyoming, and caught a plane home. Don't be one of those people. Treat the company's equipment better than you would treat your own. That's all. That's my only request if you decide to go down that road. Because again, this entire channel, I want to build positivity. I want to help people as much as possible. And I want to help grow this industry to heights that I can't imagine. I want to make this industry better. So if you become a company driver, please go about it that way. Now, the next stage would be a leased on owner-operator. A leased on owner-operator, again, typically, you pay for your own fuel. You pay for your own truck, your own trailer. You have to reimburse the company for your insurance expenses. All of the operating expenses are on you. Essentially, you're called an owner-operator because you own everything, so therefore you also, aside from the business, therefore you put in everything. Again, I've seen very, very infrequently have I seen where companies are paying you guaranteed $1.50 a mile or something like that. Majority of the time, everything I've seen is percentage based. And when I say percentage based, it's a percentage of the gross line haul. So if a load, really easy numbers here, if a load's going 400 miles, pays $1,000 gross, and you're set to make 25% of that, you made $250 that day. Or if you're set to make 80%, you made $800 that day, whatever the case may be. So typically I see it be as a percentage based. Now, when it comes to averages and what type of money to expect, it's a little bit harder to nail down because I've seen those percentages all over the place. I've seen companies start as low as 65, 70%, and I've seen companies that pay all the way up to 90%. Some of the things that you can ask for, or some of the things to look out for, I guess, are if a company offers a fuel card or not, how that's deducted from the pay and at what frequency. If you're an owner-operator, who's doing the dispatching? Are you in the control of getting a hold of the load boards or making your own customers and everything's on you? Or are they willing and able and properly trained and staffed, I guess, to make sure that you're booked and loaded at all times? Make sure that, honestly, on a situation like that, it's very, very close to a business partnership. So honestly, I'd say make sure you get somebody that you can get along with, you can have hard conversations with and not come to blows or hate each other the next day. Or somebody that, it was worded to me at one point in time, if you guys can't sit down and have a couple beers together and have a good time and just enjoy each other's company, you might not want to work together. And I could see that being very true, not necessarily 100% of the time, but that type of working relationship. Moving forward, the next overall step is owning your own company, your own NCDOT, your own everything. At that point, obviously, insurance, fuel, truck, trailer, all of that is 100% on you. Where you go, how often you work, where you work, what type of loads you take, it's 100% on you. On a positive note, you get 100% of the profits. If your gross that day is $1,000, you made $1,000. But what you also need to make sure you do when you're getting into business, again, this is all my opinion, I could be completely wrong, and some people could do it absolutely differently and be very successful, and I hope every one of you does it the right way and is successful. But you need to make sure that a percentage of that load gets set aside so you can do your oil changes, tire rotation, fuel filter, have that extra $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, whatever you spend on tires, have that ready before your tires are bald. Don't have these last second expenses. Diesel trucks are gonna break down, trailers are gonna break down, axles are gonna have issues. There's so many different ways that you could have to come out of pocket for expenses that I say you get 100% of the profit. But what you do with that profit is very, very, very important. So make sure you have money. For instance, my company insurance is due on the 25th of every month. If I don't have that made and ready to be paid by the 15th, I'm starting to stress a little bit, because you never know what those next 10 days are going to guarantee you, which is nothing. You never know what they're going to bring. So you have to worry about that. When you set up your own authority, which we will do a whole separate video on all the different steps to set up your authority. A lot of other people have done them, so I might watch theirs, and if everybody else has covered it, I won't waste your time, because again, I'm trying to educate, not just get clickbait or get views. But when you have your own authority, you need to worry about your MCS 150, your UCRs, when are they due, are they up to date, am I legal to travel all 48? You have to make sure you pay attention to all the different state permits. You have to make sure if your CDL, your company's signed up for and ready to go with the Drug and Alcohol Consortium. You're in charge of making sure all of your taxes are done correctly for your company. If you lease anybody on, make sure the 1099s are good. If you have company drivers and you're big enough to offer benefits, make sure all of that's taken care of. You have to worry about payroll for those employees. So 100% of profit, yes, you do get 100% of profit. But be very, very, very careful on how you set up a true business plan. Terrence over at Bank Shipping actually talked about a couple videos ago. If you want to be successful, have a business plan that incorporates, I don't think any of us saw 2020 and COVID coming, but have something that incorporates major breakdowns. Me, earlier this year, I was off for an extra 3.5 weeks that I wasn't planning on because of COVID and pneumonia and things like that. Have a plan for all that stuff before it smacks you upside the head. If you're going down the road, you don't have it made a plan, and your transmission blows up, you have that $4 or $5 grand to fix it, be off work while it's getting fixed, and losing the income of those working days. That's kind of a generalized consensus on the basics of each realm of HotShot. Some little tidbits I can bring up. I am a person that believes in complete transparency. So when I leased on to somebody, I found somebody that was willing to take the time to train me on how to book loads, and he was booking for me for the first week or two that I was over there. One thing that him and I both agreed upon, there's no funny business, there's no nothing. I want to see the rate confirmation. That way, going down the road, there's no questions on, I wonder if he's holding money or whatever the case may be. Also, the rate confirmation guarantees pickup and delivery time, so there's no miscommunication there. And make sure that before you sign that lease agreement, make sure you know anything and everything they're charging you for. So for me, on my company, what we've charged people for is the insurance. If you've got $1,000 in insurance due a month, it's going to be on my policy, so I have to pay it, but I'm charging you that $1,000. Dispatching takes a lot of time, effort, a lot of frustration and phone calls, stuff like that. A little bit of an investment with the load boards and that type of stuff. So we charge 5% for dispatching on our drivers, but we also pay you that. All of that is broke down in the lease agreement. So when I send out your weekly pay settlement, you know each load that you hauled during that pay period, what the gross was, what your, again, whether it's 80% or whatever you're making, what your 80% is. I have a column for what the load grossed, and then a column for your pay. Then down below, if there's any deductions, such as insurance or anything like that. So there's a final pay, and you can follow it along easily. I say that because I've had a couple people that wanted to lease on, and unfortunately we're not leasing anybody on currently. Hopefully we'll be doing that in the next 60 days or so, I think. There'll be an update on that. But I've had people that are like, well, when I leased on, I was supposed to get this percentage, but now they're taking this, they're taking that, they're taking this, they're taking that, they're taking this. And I didn't ask to see a copy of the lease agreement. It's not my company, it's not my business. But when they were describing it to me, all this stuff wasn't in the lease agreement. Get complete transparency and protect yourselves. There are great companies out there, and there are some that you probably don't want to do business with. So just protect yourselves, be as smart as possible, find the right niche for you, even if it's just to get into it, and then build from there, whatever the case may be. Just like always, again, please like, share, subscribe. I really appreciate you guys supporting the channel as much as you have. Ask any and all questions that you can possibly think of in the comments. Contact us, Shipley Transport LLC on Facebook. If you go to Instagram, I believe it's craig.shipley.7, something like that. You'll find me, I hope. Still kind of new to the social media stuff as far as trying to build the business and stuff, but contact me. I'll answer any and all questions I possibly can. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll talk to you again next time. Thanks.